Cool. We live.
Hello. Welcome.
I'm back. Good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, depending where you guys are. So today we have a good old friend, and I'm going to introduce you in a few seconds. We have Lobo with us, straight from Brazil. I'm going to play the show reel first, and I introduce Mateus for you guys. Let me just share this. Let's click the button so you guys share. So let me know if you guys can see. Should be fine.
Okay.
Cool. So let me just play.
Very nice.
Nice. Cool. So tonight, let me just stop sharing here. So tonight we have Mateus. Mateus, the founder of Lobo, good old friend of mine. Hello, Mateus.
Hey guys.
It's nice to have you here, man.
Thanks for the invitation.
Thank you. I think for a start, it would be nice, Lobo, as I was saying before, Lobo is one of, I think, one of the key studios, like old school studios, still going and still producing really amazing work, man. Just tell us a little bit how you guys start. How many years been already?
Too many years. No, I think I'll do the quick version. We've been around for a while. We officially started the studio in 1994.
Wow.
So that's 26 years ago, so something like that. 28 years. But it was really in the early years was just myself and my original partner that's still in the company today. It was before I went to college. Between school and college, I worked at my first and last job, that I had as before I started the studio. I worked at MTV in Brazil for about a year. It was the very early days. It started in Brazil in 1992. So it was very experimental, met a lot of really cool people. I was 17. So it was, everything was new to me, and it was really great and opened my eyes to a bunch of different, it was the first time I heard about Ray Gun magazine and Emigre fonts and hardcore type design, cool stuff, Carlos Segura. It kind of really shaped my early interests. And so, when we started, it was very early days of motion graphics, motion design, After Effects 1.1 first, and I used at MTV, and then 2.0 Aldus After Effects, and then Adobe bought Aldus and was Adobe on a 3.0. But it was a small shop doing motion graphics stuff on one side, and then my partner used to do 3D on a PC software called Topaz. That was it ran on, it didn't even run on Windows. It ran on DOS, MS DOS. And we were really playing around. There was not a lot of I lived with my parents basically at that time, so there's not a lot of economic pressure to. But we started meeting people and going around, and I started contacting other companies and people, making friends. And I remember like meeting the guys from MK12, which are still like really good friends to this day. And they had just started working with a guy that was selling them. It was a company called the Abling Group, which was basically one person, Mick Abling.
Mick.
It's Mick, yeah. The Mick. And they were kind enough to introduce me to Mick, and that's when we really made the jump from being a kind of a local cool kids to something a bit more international. We also worked on the infamous Golden Shower music video that one.
Just got my drink.
That one, VMB, the sort of our version of the VMAs, and that got around internationally a little bit. But through Mick, and so I started traveling for conferences like BDA, which is the Broadcast Designers Association. We used to do a lot of broadcast design those days. Just started, getting around and meeting people and working more and more internationally.
What happened to the Ebling Group? Did they sell? 'Cause I know that Mick has his own as a different company now, like kind of developing technology to help out people with disabilities, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. So not impossible.
That's it.
Not Impossible Labs.
Yeah.
No, we worked with Mick for a long time, like 12 years, I think, and we're much better friends now that we don't work together than we used to be back in the day. So yeah, what he does now is really great. But yeah, we're in touch, talk all the time, but he's not working in advertising or animation or anything anymore. He's fully dedicated to that, to his new thing.
Yeah, I remember the old times of Belling Group. There was like, who was that? Have you guys, MK12 was just like 4-5, no?
I mean, we were the there all the time. There was that CocaCola project with the bottles.
Yeah,
they're here. I think they're that one. The ones that I had in my office are gone. Somebody stole them. But oh no, you're there. Let me grab one. So these were the bottles that we did for CocaCola. So this was MK12. This one was a company called Caviar in Japan. This one was the guys from Africa. Rex, Tennant, and McKay. They're a really cool company too.
Oh, nice.
This was us. And this was Design Republic.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
So yeah, so this is a really cool project. This is 2005. We Coca-Cola invited one company from each continent to work on a music. We could pick a band, and they would hire that band, music video, and then do a bottle, like a special aluminum bottle for them. And we worked out if I can choose, I just choose whatever. And I chose Flaming Lips, and they actually got them to. That's cool. So we worked in a music video for them.
Projects like that they don't seem to get projects like that anymore. I don't know if it's just me thinking that, but I've not seen a project like that for a while. We get all these like really great international studios to make, design a bespoke bottle for Coca-Cola and then do a video with it, and that kind of promotion side of things. It seems to be of an era in a way. Like it doesn't seem to come about anymore.
Yeah, I think there was the whole thing with the branded content stuff that remember the BMW films. There were the big budget, but then Diesel used to do a bunch of stuff like that as well. We worked with them quite a bit, but yeah, I think it's just the world changed a little bit in terms of like everything. A lot of the money that would go on those kinds of projects are going to social and
yeah, I guess it's just
doing like smaller
media.
Yeah, and then like short content. Everything's 15 seconds now or 6 seconds. People don't watch 4-minute
It's
videos anymore.
Do you ever watch is it the Mike Judge film Idiocracy? You guys seen that? Or it's like people's attention span is just getting shorter and shorter and shorter.
Thanks to Facebook and 15 seconds.
That's right.
Yeah, it's true. It's changed quite a lot through the years now. We don't see big projects like even like music video is quite rare. We see really like good music video with budgets nowadays.
Like a 1-minute commercial feels like, you know, Lord of the Rings.
Totally.
And tell me a little bit in the beginning, Mateus. You guys used to be more focused on like, let's say, graphic design, you know, like motion graphic way with a 3D as well, no? And through these years, you know, I don't know, I watched you guys from the beginning. It used to be a big inspiration when I used to live in Brazil. And through these years, man, I see quite a lot big developments, you know, like in the studio as well, not just as a size, but like the work you guys do. Like you guys been pushing a lot more stop motion. The quality of stop motion is being like crazy what you guys been doing lately as well. Is there any reason, because you still directing most of the films with Lobo, no?
No, not entirely, but yeah, I think that the reason I was going to say is really because of the people. In the very early days, yes, I was directing most of the projects. I mean, we had an amazing team when we were super small as well, but it was more people that had a design background and like graphic design, motion graphics, typography, that kind of stuff. But, you know, as we grew and started adding different talents as directors, even like, for example, you know, Guy Marcondes is a director that takes care of our New York office creatively. And his thing is all like about storytelling and lots of mixed media, stop motion. And then for example, now that we recently signed Isa, which is a Brazilian animator as well. She went to Gobelin in France, you know, the animation school. And she's an amazing storyteller, like lots of 2D animation for stories. So it's more than the company grew to be more than what I like to do to be a more accomplished studio with very talented directors and I also grew an interest in other stuff, you know, more than just animating pixels and like After Effects. Not that I don't, I still love, you know, more pure motion graphics projects. But I also developed an interest in animation, a more traditional like character animation projects and mixed media. So like shooting, mixing live action with animated characters and stuff like that. So.
That's where the magic happens, when you get those kind of nice crossovers of stuff that you wouldn't think about. Like any interest whatsoever outside of animation will always find a way into animation some way, shape or form, which is always quite nice.
Yeah. Do you think that's a natural, because how big you guys are now? How many stuff?
Because, you know, Lobo is one part of a bigger company. We have a company in Brazil called Vetor Zero, and then Lobo is basically the brand that we use for all the international work, which is the brand that I take care of. But we share a lot of the same team between these two companies. Vetor Zero is a animation company that's dedicated to the Brazilian market, basically. But you know, between the two companies, which is just one place, one thing, it's about 200 people, staff plus freelancers. You know, between 50 to 80 freelancers at any given time. So
do they do post-production as well, don't they? Is that right, Vetor Zero?
Not really. It started as a post-production company for other live action production companies, but it's been like almost 15 years that we stopped working for the other production companies to post on our own, because Vetor Zero also is a bunch of live action directors in the Brazilian market. So there's a lot of posts, but it's just for the in-house projects, basically.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And do you feel that it's a natural growth? You know, like, because we're talking about 28 years old studio. You know, it's you know, like running my own studio. I can see the challenge. You know, like a lot of studios open and close quite young. I know Lobo comes from a different time in the market. You know, when production value used to be a lot bigger, but you guys need to adapt quite a lot. You know, I imagine to be 28 years in the market, you know, and still pushing really good work out of there, you know, and it's quite a natural, I think, evolution for the studio, you know, bring a different direction, bring a different perspective of people as well, you know, to keep fresh in the market. Do you think that helps you guys keep always, you know, bring some fresh work out there?
Oh yeah. Again, I think it's all about the people, you know, not only the directors, but the designers, the art directors, the people that we keep looking for and bringing to the team. And this is, I'm old, you know, I'm tired. I can't do like, I can't
in bed by 7.
Not that early, but still, you know, the all-nighters that we used to do. Like I used to basically live in the company, like I wouldn't leave before 2 a.m. in the morning, and then, you know, and so you kind of need, not that we encourage that kind of lifestyle anymore, because I think the world changed to a better life work balance, which is great. You know, even for young people and everything, it doesn't make sense anymore to work that much, I think. But you got to bring new creative energy, new creative ideas. So you know, there's the director that I just mentioned. She's 25 or something, and doing amazing work with all that, you know, super fresh ideas. Knows a lot of people that are just getting into the market and doing really beautiful stuff. So I think that's kind of the key to keep going, is try and keep yourself young and the mind at least, and bring it in, like, not necessarily younger talent, but new talent, new perspective, new ideas. Like, well, we just worked the other day with this freelancer, this illustrator that's 65 years old as well. And wow. It's beautiful work. So it's not just about age, but it's about different and fresh perspectives.
So obviously you guys have got offices in, you know, you got an office in New York and Sao Paulo. What differences do you find there are working in like the Brazilian market versus the American market, and what are the kind of the challenges?
Lots of differences, I think, and basically the main reason that I kind of try to make that move and steer the company towards not only the American but international market is because it got harder and harder to work in the Brazilian market for me, just because of the lack of respect for the process. And
yeah, I think Thiago can probably sympathize with that.
Yeah, I know you guys started an operation in Brazil a while ago and had some tough experiences with that, especially because you only had, like, most of your career has been outside Brazil, right? So your perspective was from a civilized
yeah, it's going backwards
process. Yeah. So I mean, of course, there are projects that are horrible anywhere, and projects that are really smooth anywhere, but on average, it got really complicated to me, like managing not only my time and expectations, but the team, you know, because there's no respect for anything, basically. So you've been working on something for a month, and then everything gets thrown away, and you call everybody on a Saturday because on Monday you need to show a new version of what you just spent a month working on. Because otherwise the agency is going to lose the account. It's always the same, same kind story. Of bullshit. Everybody's going to lose the account on every job. So that was the main drive, you know, for me to not, like I said, not any market is perfect, but I think in general, in the US and in London, in the UK, there's just more respect for the process, for the work, for the people.
And do you think it's still in Brazil? They're still thinking like animation is still like something related to kids more than to the adult, or do you think that mentality changed already?
I don't know. I think that changed. I mean, worldwide, of course, after like things like Adult Swim have been around not for 5 but for 20 years or so. So and you have more and more animated feature films meant for adults, and so I think that perception that perception has gone away. There are all sorts of different brands that are not meant for kids using animation in their communication. So I don't think that's an issue. And there's also the thing with the pandemic that because of a lot of shoots were canceled, or you couldn't shoot anything for a couple of years almost. Just brands had to look into animation as a solution for so that also helped opening their eyes, that you can tell any sort of story, any kind of communication through animation.
It's kind of interesting. It took a pandemic to open some clients' eyes that animation can be a mature medium in terms of audience.
Yeah, I think the pandemic helped to speed up the process. It would take probably like 10 years for clients to accept. I don't know how you've seen that, Mateus, but like I've been noticed and talking to other studios, we've been noticed quite a lot harder. It's a lot more work animation wise in the industry in the last 2 years with the pandemic, but in the same time, it's a lot less people, like not less people, but we find really struggling to find talents nowadays because it's so much work out there, and it's been really hard, and all other studios having the same problem, from like small studios like us as bigger studios, but everyone having problems. Do you guys feeling the same since the pandemic?
Yeah. I mean, more and more, I think also because, like people realize that they can work from their houses to whatever studio that they want to hire them in the world, basically. So, before, like our competitors were a couple other production companies in Brazil for talent. Now we're competing in terms of finding talent, like globally. Of course, a lot of people that we had here before left for the studios like in Canada or in the US, like NPC and stuff like that. But they had to get a visa, they had to travel. So sometimes they had family here that they didn't want to leave behind. So it happened, but it happened on a smaller scale. Now, you can work for NPC and living in whatever. So, and NPC has deep pockets. It's just one example, but I guess this ultimately could be a good thing in terms of it makes us we have to find a way to be a better place for people to work at, where people really want to work at. That's a challenge now. Is hiring, finding and retaining the best talent is really because you have to be doing the cool work. You have to be a nice place you have to be someone that's nice to work for. You have to, have a good culture, which are things that became more and more important in the world lately. You can't have a shitty culture and expect talented people to want to work with you, because there's just places that are going to be better.
I think the other part of that is also the good thing is you've got your infrastructure in place for working with freelancers globally much more smoothly. So that means that you can reach across like the other side of the world. It's not so much of an issue to find to be able to find more talent as well. That's like the flip side of the coin.
Yeah, that's true. But it's my price, like I think you guys did a really good move, like open the New York office as well, not just like respect wise, but coming to the the staff now with we've been seeing that quite a lot with the office in São Paulo, because before, one good thing to have office in São Paulo is because of the talents and the cost of the talents, having that in Brazil. But with like the market opening and people can work for any studios from that room in São Paulo, means the day rate, like for us in London compete with a day rate in US or New York or LA is almost impossible. You know, it's
that
like
was going to be
it's
my
almost,
next question. I just wrote
so
that down.
how they affect you guys now? Because you know, you're still getting, even you guys getting a lot international work, you're still doing some national, you know, like work in Brazil, and of course you can't compete with like day rates in New York and in LA or even London now, because it just end up costing a lot more for you guys.
Day rates in London aren't that great though.
No, it's true.
I mean, the problem is the exchange rate, right? Because our money now isn't worth shit. It's compared to the pound or to the dollar and everything. But
Pound ain't great.
Because most of our projects also come from abroad. It's a mix.
It
basically.
doesn't
You know,
affect,
we're really, we don't have the, not that it doesn't affect, but we don't have the luxury of I'm just going to work with talent in Brazil because it's cheaper, because sometimes you won't find the right person, or sometimes they're like the right person is busy. So it's really a mix. But we still work with a lot of people that used to live in Brazil at our that freelance here back in the day, but are now we're living in LA or London, but we have to pay competitive rates to what they get in those markets. So it is just a mix of, you know, trying to be finding the best people, be fair, and of course, you know, make it work as a business and make profit and be able to keep going.
Yeah.
On the plus side, though, if you guys are earning in dollars and have a dollar account, then you're somewhat insulated from you know, from your own currency going up or down, or the fluctuations, which is kind of good.
Yeah. No, that was one of the reasons also too.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, in the 25 plus years we've been going on, there were, like, we started off our first office in New York. We started in 2003 or 4, and in 2008, you know, the world melted, and
Yeah.
Brazil was doing really well in economically. So we ended up shutting that office down in a couple of years, just because there was a lot of work and money in Brazil, and it was very hard to compete in the US because, you know, the economy was horrible. The companies that were already established were fighting very hard for whatever work was there. So, you know, I remember like going against PSYOP on a $60,000 job, you know, which normally they don't even would look at. But and then the opposite happened, and so I always say that there's 2 reasons that we try to work globally. Have a presence, at least some sort of presence, in Europe, in Asia, in the US. The first is that there's a better chance that you'll get good creative if you're open your horizons, you know, and then you, like you said, you insulate yourself from instabilities in the economies, and then sometimes, you know, in if you're thinking 2-3 years, you're probably going to be stable in one market. But if you start talking about 2 decades, you're going to have those fluctuations somehow. So.
I mean, we've got issues in Europe right about now anyway.
Yeah, it's getting even worse here now with the Brexit as well.
Well, I was thinking more the Ukraine situation.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the biggest thing right now.
Yeah, I think the
positive. I mean, we're getting past COVID, and now we have a fucking war.
I mean, the positive about America is, if anything kicks off if it does really go to shit in Europe, America is relatively insulated from all the problems in Europe, whereas obviously mainland Europe are connected via gas and electricity and all that kind of side of things. So it's going to have bigger impacts in America. So having a dollar account is not a bad idea.
Yeah, but if this thing escalates, it's going to be horrible for the whole world. Not only for humanitarian reasons, but you know, in terms of economically, it will affect the entire world.
Yeah,
which is not in an amazing place right now, anyways.
Yeah, why can't we all be friends? It's ridiculous.
We can just send a friend invitation, James, and see if they're.
Well, I tried to add him on Facebook, but he just ignored me. You know.
So thinking, and you know, I don't know, it's always in my head, you know, 28 years, you guys, MK12, I think it's the only PsyOp, you know, it's the only like old school studio still going. Where do you see you guys going, man? You know, what is the plan? Dominate the world, you know?
Not dominate the world, but we've been discussing an office in London for a while. I guess you know that. So that is for a number of reasons. One, again, you know, I think there's, even at Brexit and everything, there's still like amazing creative going on in London. Really good agencies, really good people. So I think and amazing animation companies. You know, between Nexus, Passion, and so on. So it's very hard to compete for those amazing scripts without a presence. With a presence, it's very hard. Without, it's even harder to be able to compete in that market. So that's something that's been on my radar for a while. One, because of creative. Two, because I just love the city, love being there, so love to spend more time. And historically, this has always been harder for us to crack like Europe than the US. Again, because I think there's cultural differences, really good local companies. So that's one thing, you know, that I hope now that this year, hopefully be able to travel again, you know, something that I hope to at least lay the grounds for that in this year. And on top of that, in terms of plans for the future, is just keep pushing really good shit. You know, that's the drive. That's always been the drive. It's just the work. That's what, at least for me, what keeps me going is just, you know, when I see something that's really cool, and I go, fuck, why didn't I do this? You know, it's like that's the main drive. I don't have that's not anything fancy like, oh, I want to direct my animated feature. I know some of our directors do. That's not really my thing. So that might be in our horizon, but you know, it won't be me at the helm.
Yeah, it's crazy to see, because you know, like you're talking about having your presence in places. You know, we always talk, and we've been talking about like freelance, you know, with the pandemic open, where people can work from anywhere. But you know, like as a business wise, do you feel it's still really necessary you have like a physical presence in the place? You know, like that's one reason you guys in New York again, you know, do you think agencies still seeing, you know, you need to be there, you know, just to have like the human relationship? No,
it'd be a time zone thing too. It's nice to have like a couple of time zones covered, so if you are on a big project, you can do, you know.
There's that, but there's also I think that the reason I think our New York office really worked is because my two partners there are really good at what they do, you know, and one runs the business, the other runs creative, and that's more important than having a presence just for the sake of having a presence. I don't think that works, but having the right creative, the right business person that can, you know, at the reach of a phone call, like, oh, can you stop by and discuss a script with our creatives here, you know, and then you go and you sit for 10 minutes and something. And I think we're going to go back to that because we miss it, you know. This works great, the Zoom and shit, but I think, you know, especially for creatives, you miss being able to have that exchange that's more honest and intense, and so it's really the only reason we didn't open the office in London so far is because we haven't found the right partners, basically. But I'm looking.
Yeah, I think it's really funny to see because I don't know, it's something I felt the same relationship with Brazil, like trying to get work in Brazil, even it's not much clever way, when the currency doesn't help, but like with the presence in Brazil and think, oh, I'm from there, be easy, just get work and travel more to Brazil. But not having the studio there, I felt like, to go and meeting the creatives and I had that experience, that exchanging with them, it just make like the work a lot easier. I feel people still miss that connection, and I think people are gonna miss even more now because after 2 years, everyone just worked through Zoom. People really dying to meet other people and go to conferences again.
Yeah, connection, isn't it? Every now and then, like to have a cup of tea with someone or whatever. That's probably a bit too London.
People normally have a beer, James.
Well, I was trying to be polite, I didn't want to adhere to a stereotype, but yeah, a pint.
I mean, it's almost 9 there.
It's almost bedtime here.
Time for a pint. What are you drinking there? Is that tea?
This is beer.
Just beer.
Very good.
This just gets me through the day.
We used to start the show with what each one is drinking. We need to go back on that.
Yeah, I don't know if we're promoting alcoholism or not, though.
I think it's allowed,
Yeah, sure. It's cheeky. It's all right.
So, I want to ask you, Mateus, what is your favorite job? If you can tell me one of your favorite job in these 28 years, man.
Or Pinnacle, like, what do you think changed the studio as well? Is quite interesting.
Yeah, that's quite interesting.
You mean a specific work, a piece of work that we?
Yeah. One that is your favorite and that you think that job really changed what Lobo?
I think I once did a talk that was sort of a Lobo retrospective, and I think I can't choose one piece, but the whole thread of the talk was the key pieces of work that put us in a different level or in a different so there are a few that are really important and dear to me. I think the first one being the Golden Shower video, the music video that was back then. Apple had on their homepage, they put some videos there, and that was on Apple's homepage for a couple of days or a day or something like that. Can you imagine like Apple today having something on their homepage from a band called Golden Shower? But so different days, and then this is in 2000, and then in 2004 we did a really cute commercial for the zoo of Buenos Aires, which is not the capital of Brazil, by the way, if anyone and that was the creative was a guy that became a really good friend of mine. There's now a director, Johnny Gervit, and it was really beautiful, I think, and it won as our first Lion in Cannes, and that's not what makes it special or anything. Of course, everybody likes awards, but I think it kind of put us in a different level as well, like competing in a more in international grounds. And Argentina was always much better than Brazil in terms of exposing themselves to a broader market. And creatives from Argentina were working all over the world before there was a trend for Brazilian creatives. There was a lot of exchange, so that was really cool. And there's several others after that, but I think that one is one of my favorites.
So I guess it's kind of
the Leica spot that we did recently also is one of just because it was kind of against the current where everything was animated, and it was like a pure motion graphics film in 2018 or something like that, and it also won the first and only Crystal and NC Animation Festival for a Brazilian company or person or film.
I guess this kind of also leads into, are there any companies out there that you haven't worked with yet that you would really like to work with?
Brands, you mean companies, brands?
Yeah, or brands or whoever really. It could be charity, could be there's whoever.
We've been lucky enough to be able to work for a lot of different causes, either getting paid or not. So we did a beautiful film that Guy directed for an NGO that helps parents and kids with autism to seek treatment, early treatment. So those are always super rewarding. And in terms of brands, it's really I think we've worked with all the brands that I
in 28 years it's almost impossible.
Yeah, like the cool brands and so I guess that's the thing, finding more and more opportunities to do stuff that going to do more than just sell stuff, and the good thing is that brands are now people are demanding the brands get behind those initiatives. So you don't see, like, you see Nike doing just a sneaker commercial, but you also see Nike doing a Colin Kaepernick commercial, like really standing behind a super important cause and like racism and stuff like that. So it's good times in that sense that you can behind really important issues and also get paid for it. Yeah.
I think sometimes where a company like Nike gets behind those kind of issues, like, I think it's great. Obviously, it raises awareness, but I'm sometimes skeptical that they're still trying to use it as a vehicle to sell shoes in some way. But maybe that's just my skeptical side of everything.
I guess there are instances where it's just that, but I guess that comes and bite you in the ass. If you don't do it properly, people will find out and see you're full of shit. I think in the Colin Kaepernick thing, like their stock went down for the first few days, and then it went up again. So they were taking a risk, like the president of the country. Like Trump was telling that people that kneeling was anti-America or something.
Oh, ridiculous!
And they were showing the guy that came up with the whole. So there was a risk involved. Like half of the country liked the president at that point. So they were basically telling half the country to fuck off and don't buy Nike. So
it's kind of nice that it bounced back, though. I think that's righteousness wins in some way.
And I think people is connecting more to the brand, to what the brand means than the product nowadays. It's a really good example when Patagonia did the campaign for people not buying stuff from Patagonia because Patagonia was made to pass generation to generation. They should last longer, and that just made more people buying that shit. Because they really associate to the brand, they really associate to the culture in the brand, and they want to wear the brand. I think it's quite nice to see big brands just having these side projects, and they put in some money and giving opportunity to creative to be able to do something more creative as well.
Yeah.
And tell us, we are pretty much almost finishing this pandemic. What you think is going to be our
such a weird thing to say, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
2.5 years.
It's been 2 years.
Hopefully, if there's not a new variant or anything.
Yeah,
it's true. Where you see our industry going now? Do you think things gonna get back to normal? Like people are gonna get back to office, I think, to the office. So it's gonna, how are you guys doing with that? Is still people working from home, and you guys open complete, so now people can work from home on the studio now?
Most people are still at home, just because, again, in Brazil, the vaccination was a bit later than most countries in Europe. So, younger people are only getting the third shot now. And our idea was to wait till everybody had the booster shot to then offer people to come back to the office, like people that wants to come back to the office. We think, and then Omicron came, and then, so our original plan was to start in January, getting people gradually back to the office. And then because of Omicron, now that's kind of, we're talking about late March, maybe, when everybody's going to be like 3 weeks after the booster, even if you're 18 or something. But in terms of the industry, I think some things will change forever, I think, like I remember, I was going to say that before. I remember we tried to do this a couple of times in the past, to have me and then See No Evil, and it never worked because of when I was in London. You had already somebody already lined up, and I remember we got closed once, but then I had to change my traveling plans. So this kind of stuff, and of course maybe hybrid. Maybe you're gonna have events where people are going to be there and go to a pub and have a really good time. But then, maybe you want to get someone from Singapore to talk, and that's hard to,
we could do
travel and everything. So
we can do holograms, like virtual 2-pack on stage.
Yeah. So, I used to travel a lot for one meeting, for example. And I think that's so important. Like, I remember, like, when we were pitching something big, and I thought, my competitors from New York are both going to be in that room with the creatives, and I'm going to be on a phone call. So I used to travel, and that I still plan to do, because I think that, once people start to presentations and everything, that's still a big part of the pitching process, is being in the same room and selling your idea.
Getting that vibe across, isn't it? Or getting, the intention.
Exactly.
Gets lost a little bit.
They get lost in the Zoom environment. But a lot of stuff can be done remotely and make sense. You don't put so much carbon out in the world, and so I think it's going to be somewhere in the middle of not like it was before, but not like this, because nobody stands this anymore. Like, purely remote.
Yeah, it's been a big change. I think, like, as you said, we try get you for talk on See No Evil. I'm dying to get See No Evil back on the physical show, but me and James said, we're gonna keep, the Zoom, the live stream, because it just gave opportunity, to meet more people and bring people from different countries we never managed. And also, we always wanted to do, like, be able to film and put on a Vimeo, so people from everywhere could access the knowledge, the database. Yeah. But that, of course,
you can do it live.
Is a free, and that would cost us quite a bit of money. But now we can do live, and it's on the YouTube. I think there is the good size on that,
The only downside is Australia. We can't get anyone from Australia.
We can't get anyone.
It's just too different in time.
But I think it's been, like, looking for the positive way, it's for the industry in general. It's been quite a lot more work, like a lot more connection with freelancers and everything. I think brought a lot of people together as well, somehow, I think. But if we're still missing that travel, we're missing meet people, I think that's crucial. It's gonna be
hopefully
nice.
I'll be there. Hopefully I'll be there for DNAD this year. We can get cool. A beer on a pub, not obviously.
Not virtual. Virtual. So tell us anything you guys cooking, like, you can share with us, then we should keep an eye, anything interest coming, different platform you guys playing,
I mean, we're all, I think, playing a lot more with real time these days. We have a lot of people training and just waiting for the right project. We had a couple opportunities that were going to be really cool, but projects ended up dying because also people that are creating for those technologies don't necessarily understand exactly how they work. But I think that's on the verge of changing a lot how we work. Just the real-time rendering and real and that sort of stuff.
It's crazy the quality you can get out of real time now. When you go back, say, like 10 years or whatever, and you're spending, like 10, 15 minutes rendering like just one frame, and now it's just, we're gonna do that in real time. It's nuts.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, and then how much games kind of made that possible, like all the research that went on for games. So virtual production, I think, we've done a couple things in that space, but I think it's just gonna get bigger and bigger. What else in terms of like, I'm not ready to talk too much about the metaverse.
Does anybody know what that is anyway?
But we're an animation company that work in 3D, so we're already working on things related to that. We just don't need to call it that, but creating virtual spaces for brands and that's I think it's going to be part of. It's not going to be everything about that, but it's just going to be a part of what we're going to be working on, and that relates to real time as well, of course. So it's kind of technologies are getting ready for those things to be interesting as opposed to just a novelty.
Kind of excited.
AR and
I'm kind of excited for like VR side of things, but the problem always with VR is that if you have to put a headset on, it's too inhibitory. So that's where AR kicks in, I guess. But I'm kind of excited for that one. It's a bit more immersive. It's quite. I think that's interesting,
exactly.
but probably like a few years away from that.
Yeah, but like big companies are investing more and more. I mean, there's all this talk about the Apple AR headset, which and there's all these rumors about how light they're going to get, and just going to be kind of a wearable device as a watch or anything. I'm not a very good futurist, but eventually I think we're going to have like really good immersive environments and technologies, and that's part of what we do. We tell stories and we create worlds, and that's kind of the same ask that will come from those territories, I think.
One question.
Go ahead. All
right. I was going to ask, like, not relating to VR or anything, but like, I've always got this internal debate whether what's better to pursue. Is it like in terms of like getting new work and getting projects in, like personal project versus showreel project, versus doing a showreel? So kind of, in some ways, I kind of think that showreels are a little bit old-fashioned, whereas like you can just do more with a personal project, and you can express more and delve more into whatever you want to do. But from a company perspective, if you were looking to hire somebody or what have you, what's your personal preference to showreel versus personal projects?
I think there's a third kind of project in that space, which is the ones that pay the bills. They don't go into showreels and are not personal. Just stuff that we do and don't show anybody.
But this is from a self-promotion perspective. Or a studio promotion.
But I think, again, we've been lucky enough to historically, we very seldomly put out work that was purely personal. We've done it a couple of times in the past. There was this, I found this sticker the other day here that was from a personal project we did as a company 20 years ago, maybe. But again, we've been lucky enough to have clients that let us explore our creative needs. So, for example, Diesel in the early days, like they would hire us and tell us, do whatever you want, and put our logo at the end. kind of thing.
Has that like changed? Has that changed much in terms of client mentality? Are they more open or less open nowadays than how they used to be?
There's all kinds of clients, like we still get briefs that are very open, and so like recently we worked for Sonos, and they hired us to they had a piece of music and they wanted to illustrate that music, and just said like, do whatever you want, like just illustrate this piece of music, and but usually those aren't the $1 million projects, those are like small. So that's, I think, is what answers your question. I think usually the projects with a lot of creative freedom are not going to be the huge budget ones, but are the ones that you can really express your creative urges and test new things, and but also usually there are pieces that go on the reel. So we try to do a bit of everything.
I guess this actually kind of links to what we were saying before we started streaming. We were talking about attention spans and Instagram and what have you. Whereas I guess it's nice that one of the positives is that you can put together like a 5, 10, 15-second clip relatively quickly and put it out there and like gauge feedback and hopefully incorporate what you've learned into a brief or whatever later on, which is quite nice.
Yeah, totally.
So we almost hitting 1 hour, so let's get the last 2 questions. I have one. What do you think Lobo is gonna get involved NFT? What are you thinking about that? Because it's feeling more and more seeing like studios putting out of that,
there's been a lot of reversal
NFTs.
on NFTs, like in terms of like go back start of this year, everyone's like, oh no, and now one's like, oh yeah, I've got an NFT project now. It's like, okay, pick your side.
It's a lot of clients coming with NFT, like kind of projects.
Yeah,
well, they see dollar signs, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we're gonna keep working for our clients, and if what they need or want are NFT related projects, we're gonna work. We don't have any plans to put out our own NFTs or mint some of our work or anything like that. I'm just watching with a lot of interest the space. I'm involved in a couple of Web3 projects outside of Lobo as well. So I'm watching the space. I'm learning more and more every day how it works, but I'm interested in what comes next, of like just selling PFPs or minting the horrible digital artwork and making a quick buck.
That's what I don't get. Like, I don't get wrong. I've got nothing against NFTs, and if I said I did, I'd be completely hypocritical. But one thing I don't get is the low effort artwork that's out there. Like when you look at these bloody what's it called, like Bored Ape Yacht Club, and they're going for crazy money, and it's really ugly art. And I know it's not, and I know it's got into a position where it's like, well, it's not actually about the art; it's about the asset, like any other commodity in a way. But but some of this artwork is just absolute dog shit. just saying.
Yeah, I don't buy it, but if you want to buy it, just go for it.
There's a lot of brands moving there. So last year we did a couple of things with Red Bull, to promote NFT. They just start getting like 3D model of the cars and putting to sell. And I was reading this week as well, like fashion wise, this is a massive market. They believe it's going to be over 50 billion of dollar in
every
digital
day,
fashion, selling digital bags and everything, because like a lot company, like to produce like a label bag takes like for Hermes takes 15 hours to produce one bag. So they have like a massive hit on the stock markets now because they can't produce as much bag as the demand wants. But also they believe, the next 10 years, the NFT, with fashion, it's just gonna booming. It's like over $50 billion to be make on that,
This is my my cynical side kicking in again, but when big companies start going after NFTs, like I think the good thing about NFTs are you can support artists you really like, and as an individual, that's quite nice. You know, you like someone's art, here's some money for it, and you're investing in them as a person or whatever. But when it's like a large company selling a picture of a bag, it's a little bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well,
but
a lot of people want to buy it, so
yeah.
Well,
again,
you know, yeah.
I have 2 kids. I have to spend my money wisely. I'm not going to buy a Hermes bag, either a real or digital one. But you know, a lot of people have money to go around and do whatever they want. So I guess there's demand.
Buying a real one's fine in a way, because at least you get some kind of enjoyment out of a physical thing. But buying a virtual one,
some people enjoy that as well.
Yeah.
I'm like, no judging.
Maybe the same.
Yeah.
Maybe the same. You know, James. Some people buy porno films, you know, and you can have a real one as well. You know.
I don't get it. Just use RedTube.
It's kind of a similar situation, you know. Cool. So let's do a last question for Mateus. Do you want to anything, James?
Yeah, sure. If Lobo was a Tinder account, how would you describe yourself?
I have no idea. That's too much. I got married before Tinder, so I'm not a specialist in that area.
Is your wife watching? You can tell us for real if you like.
I have no idea. I think again, you know, our focus, my focus lately, is in trying to become a desirable place for people to work at, to, you know, retain talents, retain clients, and I guess with the pandemic, that gets a little bit harder to create and maintain and change a company culture. Hopefully, you know, next few months and years, being able to bring people back to the office. I think that's the main focus, is just that people come to work and enjoy themselves and have a good time. I think that's the best way to guarantee that the quality is just that people are having a good time.
Yeah, I think a big part of company culture is just how you hang out together as well. Like, you know, first of all, hanging out in the studio, bouncing ideas, and then if you hang out after work, you know, like in England, it's kind of tradition to go for a pint with everybody on Fridays, for example. And then you can really get to judge. Then you can really get to know somebody. That's
I think nice. The industry is really missing, you know, the networking to meet people in the studio. And I think it's a subject I've been talking to quite a few people, but I think the industry it's being suffered as well, like for all the new beginners, you know, people fresh from university, you know, like to do internship, you know, without having the studio culture, it's just hard to learn and to exchange, you know. Yeah. So I hope that we see, you know, like you said, Mateus, for you guys here, things getting normal as well. So I hope like in the next few months, you know, like the whole industry start getting all together again.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Cool,
cheers
man.
to that.
Thank you so much for your time, Mateus. It was nice to have you, man, and share a little bit more about Lobo and
my pleasure.
In the industry, man. Thanks so much.
I want to know what Lobo means and where the name comes from, because I forgot to ask earlier.
It's not a long story, but you know, we told different versions of the story through the times, but the real story that it was supposed to call Coyote, the company, because of Wheeler Coyote from Roadrunner. But then somebody or a couple people thought, you know, we were kids, and they said, oh, there's not a serious enough name. You're never gonna make a company work with that silly name. And we took that advice, and Lobo in Portuguese means wolf, which is similar enough to a coyote. So that's where it came from, to be honest.
Like if any industry where you can pick a crazy name would actually work, it's the creative industry. You know, I think you can get away with most things.
Yeah, that's but 28 years ago was a different time.
That is true.
Yeah.
Nowadays you can call anything, you know. We have a nice shit the other day as well.
Oh yeah. Oh, that's not just a statement.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Thank you so much for your time. Hope
Of course.
to see you in London, man. And let's keep in touch. Thanks, everyone. You know, it was a big pleasure. We'll be back next month.
28th.
28th of March, I think. It's the last Tuesday of the month.
I should check my
we're gonna
diary.
have animate.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're gonna post soon, and we keep the video on the YouTube so everyone can watch after as well.
Brilliant.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
See you
Thanks,
later.
guys. Cheers. Thank you. Bye.